Well, I think the problem is very prevalent, but it's impossible to quantify until you go and measure, because it depends on what is the current strategy of each one of the brands. What we've observed is that if they've been historically accustomed to tracking one different channel with a separate strategy, when for the first time they have a cross-media view of what is their reach and frequency, they will discover that they've been making assumptions that might have been incorrect for months, if not years. So it's one of these insidious situations in that you have to measure to understand how deep the hole goes. The problem is duplication or increased frequency that you didn't plan for. So there's an optimal amount of impressions that you want to be received by an individual until the message is understood. The problem when you go beyond that, first, you are assuming you're increasing your unique reach, but the other one, which I think is a more problematic side effect of not understanding the overlap between channels, is that you can be blasting frequency to such a degree that you're irritating the very group of individuals that you would like to influence, that you would like to market your brand to. So this could be more than just the waste of budget. This could be counterproductive to brand building. So I think that the way for you to think about this is you want to drive frequency up to an optimal level and then pump the brakes and then look for where the next unique user will be, which might be in a different channel. So you're operating this across all of the channels that matter to your brand. In my talk, I was describing the traditional methods for doing media measurement and specifically cross-media measurement. I've been in this industry for a long time, and I came from a world in which panel was king. So panel is fantastic because you can build this panel to be representative of the population, a microcosm of the population. But the problem is with fragmentation of media, to build a panel that's representative, to tackle every channel, including how people use multiple devices at the same time, is cost prohibitive and incredibly complicated. So there is a second way of doing it, which is to rely on big data and to integrate directly with the sources with the CTV providers, with the streamers, and get that data directly from the source. That is very good. The data is super granular and there's tons of it. But the problem is who's supplying the data is in a way biased, try to look themselves, paint themselves in the best light. And you need to calibrate that somehow. You can't just trust what you're getting. You need to verify. So this is not a method. There is a method for mapping one data to the other so you can calibrate this big data, which is deterministic matching. And this is really fantastic when it is possible because of privacy regulation or because of willingness of the entity that has the big data. This is the way that we approach the problem, which is mapping the panel to the big data, and then we can use one to calibrate the other. But this requires everybody to play ball and everybody to be able to supply the right type of data. This is, in a way, idealistic, and there are gaps in coverage that make this whole market picture difficult to get to. So to that, we like to add a fourth element, which is probabilistic modeling, in which we use what we can see and models, traditional machine learning models, to extrapolate these gaps in coverage. We don't feel none of these individual approaches, which some exist in some companies or some markets, they exist as a standalone solution. We don't feel that they work until you bring them all together. And this is a hybrid approach that is the approach that we apply to understanding cross-media overlap. When you think about measurement, you can be dogmatic or you can be pragmatic. We are a very pragmatic company, so we feel and we feel the pain of the visionaries that describe this perfect picture of cross-media measurement and exactly what would drive towards perfect truth. But the problem is, to drive consensus is so difficult, so cumbersome, and so time consuming that you could be lost in this state of analysis paralysis, and you take too long to make a decision and correct your campaign, that in most times they're on the fly. You're running campaigns all the time. And we feel that our recommendation to brands is to take a pragmatic approach to get access to media that directionally allows you to optimize your media spend and correct things on the fly, observe this functioning on the fly, and then you move faster than your competition. You simply win with that approach.